Ayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajikashaya Stotra Sakashishimai Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBD Founder Charya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajikacharya Stotra Sakashishimai Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd Canto, Chapter 9, Text 34. Okay. Riteratam yat pratyeta. Riteratam yat pratyeta. Na pratyeta chatmani. Na pratyeta chatmani. Tad vidyat atmano mayam. Tad vidyat atmano mayam. Yata baso yata tamaha. Yata baso yata tamaha. Riteratam yat pratyeta. Na pratyeta chatmani. Tad vijadatmano mayam. Yata basho yata tamaha. Riteratam yat pratyeta. Vaishnavis. Rite, without. Artam, value. Yat, that which. Pratiyeta, appears to be. Na, not. Pratiyeta, appears to be. Cha, and. Atmani, in relation to me. Tat, that. Vidyat, you must know. Atmanaha, my. Mayam, illusory energy. Yata, just as. Abasaha, the reflection. Yata, as. Tamaha, the darkness. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So before I start reading this, I just want to warn, I don't know if that's the right word, everybody, this is a 5-page purport. Okay, that's long. And so everybody has to be prepared for that. And one prefatory remark is that, has anybody ever heard the expression, oh, he's speaking out of anger? It's an expression. You know, that person is just, he's speaking out of anger. Somebody says that sometimes when somebody is, you know, saying a lot of things, but the basic motivation behind the whole thing is anger. And that's more significant than actually the exact words that the person's saying. So my point is that when Prabhupada speaks, he's speaking out of inspiration. Like yesterday, the class, Prabhupada's class yesterday. How many of you were here for that class yesterday? I don't know about anybody else, but I walked in feeling kind of lukewarm, and that class was just like powerful. I walked out of this temple room yesterday morning feeling like a devotee. I feel like, yeah, I'm a Hare Krishna devotee. Prabhupada has potency. You know, just like somebody speaking out of anger, the main thing is that they're angry. When Prabhupada's speaking, it's inspiration. And his writing is the same. You know, Prabhupada said, he told devotees that when I sit down to write these books, Krishna comes and he tells me to write each word, something to that effect. So when you hear Prabhupada speak, and when you read Prabhupada's purports, you're hearing the main significant thing is this is somebody who's inspired by God to give you these words. These are not ordinary words. It's not just somebody trying to fill up the page like a college essay or something like that. It's got to be 5,000. No. Prabhupada's speaking his inspirations, and those inspirations are coming to him from Krishna. So we should always bear that in mind, and with that in mind, listen very carefully, and then we'll really get the maximum benefit. Okay, so translation. O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in the darkness. Purport. In the previous verse, it has already been concluded that in any stage of the cosmic manifestation, its appearance, its sustenance, its growth, its interactions of different energies, its deterioration, and its disappearance, all has its basic relation with the existence of the personality of Godhead. And as such, whenever there is forgetfulness of this prime relation with the Lord, and whenever things are accepted as real without being related to the Lord, that conception is called a product of the illusory energy of the Lord. Because nothing can exist without the Lord. It should be known that the illusory energy is also an energy of the Lord. The right conclusion of dovetailing everything in relation with the Lord is called Yoga Maya, or the energy of union. And the wrong conception of detaching things from its relationship with the Lord is called the Lord's Daivi Maya, or Mahamaya. Both the Mayas also have connections with the Lord because nothing can exist without being related to Him. As such, the wrong conception of detaching relationships from the Lord is not false but illusory. Misconceiving one thing for another thing is called illusion. For example, accepting a rope as a snake is illusion, but the rope is not false. It's just not a snake. The rope as it exists in the front of the illusion person, is not at all false, but the acceptance is illusory. Therefore, the wrong conception of accepting this material manifestation as being divorced from the energy of the Lord is illusion, but it is not false. And this illusory conception is called the reflection of the reality in the darkness of ignorance. Anything that appears as apparently not being, and this is in parentheses, produced out of my energy is called Maya. The conception that the living entity is formless, or that the Supreme Lord is formless, is also illusion. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 12, it was said by the Lord in the midst of the battlefield that the warrior standing in front of Arjuna himself, and even the Lord, had all existed before. They were existing on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and they would all continue to be individual personalities in the future also, even after the annihilation of the present body, and even after being liberated from the bondage of material existence. In all circumstances, the Lord and the living entities are individual personalities, and the personal features of both the Lord and the living beings are never abolished. Only the influence of the illusory energy, the reflection of light in the darkness, can, by the mercy of the Lord, be removed. In the material world, the light of the sun is also not independent, nor is that of the moon. The real source of light is the Brahmajyoti, which diffuses light from the transcendental body of the Lord, and the same light is reflected in varieties of light. The light of the sun, the light of the moon, the light of fire, the light of electricity. So these are all derivatives of the Brahmajyoti. So the identity of the self as being unconnected with the Supreme Self, the Lord, is also illusion. And the false claim, once again, inverted commas, I am the Supreme, is the last snare of the same Maya, or the external energy of the Lord. The Vedanta Sutra is the Vedanta Sutra in the very beginning affirms that everything is born from the Supreme, and thus, as explained in the previous verse, all individual living entities are born from the energy of the Supreme Living Being, the personality of Godhead. Brahma himself was born from the energy of the Lord, and all other living entities are born from the energy of the Lord through the agency of Brahma. None of them have any existence without being dovetailed with the Supreme Lord. The independence of the individual living entity is not real independence, but is just the reflection of the real independence existing in the Supreme Being, the Lord. The false claim of supreme independence by the conditioned souls is illusion, and this conclusion is admitted in this verse. Persons with a poor fund of knowledge become illusioned, and therefore the so-called scientists, physiologists, empiric philosophers, etc., become dazzled by the glaring reflection of the sun, moon, electricity, etc., and deny the existence of the Supreme Lord, putting forward theories and different speculations about the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of everything material. The medical practitioner may deny the existence of the soul and the physiological bodily construction of the individual person, but he cannot give life to a dead body, even though all the mechanisms of the body exist, even after death. The psychologist makes a serious study of the psychological conditions of the brain, as if the construction of the cerebral lump were the machine of the functioning mind, but in the dead body, the physiologist cannot bring back the function of the mind. These scientific studies of the cosmic manifestation or the bodily construction, independent of the Supreme Lord, are different, reflective, intellectual gymnastics only. But at the end, they are all illusion and nothing more. All such advancement of science and knowledge in the present context of material civilization is but an action of the covering influence of the illusory energy. The illusory energy has two phases of existence, namely the covering influence and the throwing influence. By the throwing influence, the illusory energy throws the living entities into the darkness of ignorance. And by the covering influence, she covers the eyes of men with a poor fund of knowledge about the existence of the Supreme Person, who enlightened the Supreme Individual Living Being, Brahma. The identity of Brahma with the Supreme Lord is never claimed herein, and therefore such a foolish claim by the man with a poor fund of knowledge is another display of the illusory energy of the Lord. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, text 18 through 20, that demoniac persons who deny the existence of the Lord are thrown more and more into the darkness of ignorance, and thus such demoniac persons transmigrate life after life without any knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The sane man, however, is enlightened in the disciplic succession from Brahmaji, who was personally instructed by the Lord, or in the disciplic succession from Arjuna, who was personally instructed by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita. He accepts this statement, meaning that the sane man, he accepts this statement of the Lord. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pavartate iti matva vajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. The Lord is the original source of all emanations, and everything that is created, maintained, and annihilated exists by the energy of the Lord. The sane man who knows this is actually learned, and therefore he becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Although the reflectory energy of the Lord displays various illusions to the eyes of persons with a poor fund of knowledge, the sane person knows clearly that the Lord can act even from far, far beyond our vision by different energies, just as fire can diffuse heat and light from a distant place. Okay. Yeah, okay. In the medical science of the ancient sages, known as the Ayurveda, there is definite acceptance of the Lord's supremacy in the following words. Jagadyonir anichasya chid anandaika rupina pumso sti prakritir nitya pratichayeva bhashvataha achetanapi chaitanya yogena paramatmanaha akarod vishvam akilam anityam nataka kritim. There is one Supreme Person who is the progenitor of this cosmic manifestation and whose energy acts as prakriti, or the material nature, dazzling like a reflection. By such illusory action of prakriti, even dead matter is caused to move by the cooperation of the living energy of the Lord. And the material world appears like a dramatic performance to the ignorant eyes. The ignorant person, therefore, may even be a scientist or physiologist in the drama of prakriti, while the sane person knows prakriti as the illusory energy of the Lord. By such a conclusion, as confirmed by the Bhagavad Gita, it is clear that the living entities are also a display of the Lord's superior energy, Paraprakriti, just as the material world is a display of the Lord's inferior energy, Aparaprakriti. The superior energy of the Lord cannot be as good as the Lord, although there is very little difference between the energy and the possessor of the energy, or the fire and the heat. Fire is possessed of heat, but heat is not fire. This simple thing is not understood by the man with a poor fund of knowledge who falsely claims that the fire and the heat are the same. The energy of the fire, namely heat, is explained here as a reflection and not directly fire. Therefore, the living entity represented, therefore the living energy represented by the living entities is the reflection of the Lord and never the Lord himself. Being the reflection of the Lord, the existence of the living entity is dependent on the Supreme Lord, who is the original light. This material energy may be compared to darkness, as actually it is darkness, and the activities of the living entities in the darkness are reflections of the original light. The Lord should be understood by the context of this verse. Non-dependence of both the energies of the Lord is explained as Maya or illusion. No one can make a solution of the darkness of ignorance simply by the reflection of light. Similarly, no one can come out of the material existence simply by the reflected light of the common man. One has to receive the light from the original light itself. The reflection of sunlight in the darkness is unable to drive out the darkness, but the sunlight outside the reflection can drive out the darkness completely. In darkness, no one can see things in a room. Therefore, a person in the dark is afraid of snakes and scorpions, although there may not be such things. But in the light, the things in the room can be clearly seen, and the fear of snakes and scorpions is at once removed. Therefore, one has to take shelter of the light of the Lord, as in the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam, and not the reflective personalities. Let me read that. One has to take shelter of the light of the Lord, as in the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam, and not the reflective personalities who have no touch with the Lord. No one should hear Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam from a person who does not believe in the existence of the Lord. Such a person is already doomed, and any association with such a doomed person makes the associator also doomed. According to the Padma Purana, within the material compass, there are innumerable material universes, and all of them are full of darkness. Any living being, beginning from the Brahmas, and in parentheses, there are innumerable Brahmas in innumerable universes, to the insignificant ant, are all born in darkness, and they require factual light from the Lord to see Him directly, just as the sun can be seen only by the direct light of the sun. No lamp or man-made torchlight, however powerful it may be, can help one see the sun. The sun reveals itself. Therefore, the action of different energies of the Lord, or the personality of Godhead Himself, can be realized by the light manifested by the causeless mercy of the Lord. The impersonalists say that God cannot be seen. God can be seen by the light of God and not by man-made speculations. Here, this light is specifically mentioned as Vidyat, which is an order by the Lord to Brahma. This direct order of the Lord is a manifestation of His internal energy, and this particular energy is the means of seeing the Lord face to face. Not only Brahma, but anyone who may be graced by the Lord to see such merciful, direct internal energy can also realize the personality of Godhead without any mental speculation. Om Ganata Maranda Shajananjana Shalaka Chakshura Militamyana Tasmai Shugurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bishtam Stapitamyana Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaparantikam. So, obviously, it's a very colossal purport. 5 pages, 8 big paragraphs, each one of them in and of itself a purport. So there's absolutely no way I could kind of touch upon all the points Prabhupada made in all those different paragraphs. So I'm just going to try to make some general remarks and then open it up for discussion. So in the translation, it's Krishna speaking, or Narayan or Vishnu speaking. It says, O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, it has no reality. No, it's not the way it is. That's just another, saying has no reality is another way of saying it's not the way it is. Okay? So what Krishna is saying here is that if something appears to be, has some value, but it doesn't have any relationship to me, it's not the way it is. It's not for real. It's not right. Krishna goes on, it's my illusory energy, and a reflection which appears to be in the darkness. So, can we think of any examples of this? I'll try to provide an example of 2 of this. Like, say, for instance, you had there's a hospital, a building, and it's advertised as a hospital, okay? And, it's a hospital, but it doesn't treat any diseases. Patients go there, but there are no diseases treated at this hospital, and therefore anybody who goes to that hospital doesn't get any better. So therefore it's a hospital in name only. It has no value. It could be called a hospital, but what's the use of a hospital that doesn't treat patients and nobody gets any better, right? Another example, say there's a college. This college doesn't offer any courses. Students go there. There's maybe 20,000 students go there. But this college doesn't offer any courses. Consequently, nobody learns anything. So it's a college in name only. It's a farce, right? Okay. So in the same way, if you have something and it doesn't have any relationship to Krishna, then there's no value to that thing. There's no benefit. I'll give a concrete example now, okay? Let's take yoga. Okay, yoga is very popular these days. Everybody, yoga, but yoga without Vishnu is of no value. Yoga without Vishnu it's like a hospital that doesn't treat patients or a college that doesn't offer any courses. Yoga without Vishnu, without a program for realizing Vishnu, is a useless waste of time. Now, I'm not being a fanatic. I'm going to read you those same words right from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, text 13-14. Prabhupada says in the purport, the goal of life is to know Krishna, who is situated within the heart of every living being as Paramatma, the four-handed Vishnu. The yoga process is practiced in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu and not for any other purpose. The localized Vishnu Murti is the plenary representation of Krishna dwelling within one's heart. Here is a big sentence coming. One who has no program to realize this Vishnu Murti is uselessly engaged in mock yoga practice and is certainly wasting his time. Period. So the point is, it's the Prabhupada speaking obviously from the perspective of an elevated transcendentalist. You see, so from the perspective of an elevated transcendentalist, yoga without a program for realizing Vishnu is a useless waste of time. It's a farce. It's a mockery, right? Just like a hospital. Etc. Those two examples. So it's not like it's you can't get healthy doing yoga. For instance, you can. It's a form of bodily exercise, and you will get healthy doing that, just like you get healthy if you go for a hike, if you get healthy if you lift weights, or go swimming or something like that. But it's from the perspective of an elevated transcendentalist whose purpose and goal it is to realize Vishnu. Yoga, Vishnu-less yoga, is a useless waste of time. Okay? Now, I'm going to expand this example even further. And what I'm going to say is, because what the translation is saying is that whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, it has no reality. And it's an illusion. Okay? I'm going to take it to the biggest picture I can think of. Life, human life. If you have a human life without any relation to Krishna, is of no value. It's it has no reality, and it's an illusion. It's a waste of time. Now, once again, that might sound like, wow, this Bhrgupati is really becoming a fanatic now. But no, I'm going to support my statements with a couple sentences from some Prabhupada purports. Prabhupada in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 9, Text 25 says, the Lord is ever increasingly merciful upon the fallen souls of this material world. The whole cosmic manifestation is a chance for all to improve in devotional service to the Lord, and everyone is meant for that purpose. So that's the purpose. See, there's a purpose to life, and that purpose to life in this material world it's an opportunity for us to improve ourselves in devotional service. We're all meant for that purpose. In another place, this is Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 5 this time, text 24. In the purport, Prabhupada says, referring to creation, he says, the whole process is to enliven the sleeping conditioned souls to the real life of spiritual consciousness, so that they may thus become as perfect as the ever liberated souls in the Vaikuntha Lokas. See? So in other words, the whole purpose of this human form of life is to give the soul a chance to improve in devotional service so they can become liberated and go back home, back to Godhead. See, so a human life without, as Krishna says here, without any connection, without any relation to him, misses the whole point. You're missing the whole point. You totally, Shrama Evahi Kevalam, you've totally missed the whole point. This is an important thing. We have to remind ourselves of this every day, all day long, that not what to speak of a day spent, moments spent without any relation to Krishna are wasted. Because we're missing the point, that we get this life, the whole purpose of this life. It's an opportunity to improve ourselves in devotional service so we can go back home, back to Godhead. See? Now, in this purport someplace, Prabhupada made the point that about, I think he made it here. Let's see. Because nothing can exist without the Lord, it should be known that the illusory energy is also an energy of the Lord. So, along those lines, this is an interesting point. In this, in the TLC, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, chapter 17, Prabhupada, in one of his, I don't know if you call it a purport, and part of the text he says, the living entities are called marginal potency because they have potentially two attitudes, namely the tendency to surrender unto Krishna and the tendency to become independent of him. See? So it's on us. The ball's in our court. It is a fact. It's Krishna. It's a fact. I think I established it, that the purpose of this creation is that it's an opportunity to improve in devotional service and become God conscious. But that's Krishna's purpose. So the question is then, what is going to be your purpose? You see, Krishna's got his purpose. He's already got his mind made up. Krishna's got his purpose. I'm creating this material cosmic manifest, all these universes, to give these living entities, these souls, a chance to improve in devotional service so they can come back to Godhead. That's my purpose. Okay? Krishna's clear on what he's trying to do. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What's your purpose? You see? That's the point. Every living entity has to make that choice. That's what it's meant by, namely the tendency to surrender to Krishna and the tendency to become independent. So it's very clear. It's very simple. We have to be conscious of this and be. Bhakti yoga means, sometimes bhakti yoga is referred to as buddhi yoga, the yoga of intelligence. Means you have to use because the mind is it's like I've given this example before. It's like if you're driving in a car and the wheel alignment's off. As soon as you take your hands off the steering wheel, what happens? It's going to the right or it's going to the left. You're going off the road, right? One way or the other, whether it's to the right or to the left, you're going off the road. So what do you have to do? You have to aside from going to the mechanic and getting that fixed, but in the meantime, you got to steer. You see, you know, as soon as I take my hands off the wheel, if I leave this car to its own, it's going to go off the road to the right or off the road to the left. I got to steer this thing. I have to be vigilant. So that's buddhi yoga, the yoga of intelligence, because the mind is always going to be diverting us. It's always going to be trying to take us off course. Let's go here today. Let's do this today. Let's do that today. Let's eat this today. And the intelligence has to be alert, vigilant, activated, and always going. No, wait a second. That's not Krishna conscious. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. That's not how I want to make advancement devotional service. See, so you always have to be intelligent and have the intelligence activated and trying to make the right decisions, trying to make the right choices. Okay, so I'll stop there. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say? I'm Bhakti Maharaj. Yep. Is there a separate microphone? Or should I pass this one over?
Thank you very much for a very all-encompassing class on reality and illusion. I just had one point I wanted to, perhaps I didn't hear you completely, so you can correct me if what I say is wrong. but you had mentioned that in the yoga system, since the yoga system does not show any connection or to the Supreme Lord, therefore it has no value, it has no usefulness. But that is not the yoga system. The eightfold system of Patanjali, the last stage is known as Samadhi. And Samadhi is not empty. It has the Supersoul, and that's in all of our books. The Supersoul exists in that Samadhi state. However, it is simply that, a picture. But there is no interaction. There is no relationship. And I think that's what the difference between where we go a step further than that. We have an interaction, a relationship with the Supreme Lord, and we try to serve the Lord in that relationship. Whereas the yogi does not do that. He simply sees, he simply observes, he simply visualizes. Okay? But that doesn't mean it's not reality. It's a step. Paramatma is reality. Paramatma is God, but it's not seeing God in the highest form that I just mentioned. Yes, so that is the main point. Now I should go one step further, which actually nullifies the whole idea of the yogi seeing the Supersoul, seeing Lord Vishnu in the heart, because that is not their ultimate goal. Their ultimate goal is to go from there to the Brahma Jyoti and enter and merge into the Brahma. They consider that to be the highest level, not the observation or the visualization or seeing of Supersoul. That's not the highest. The highest for them, and this ties in with what you said, is to be in the Brahma Jyoti. Now, as far as what you read goes, entering the Brahma Jyoti is actually, for all intents and purposes, totally useless, because one falls down from the Brahma Jyoti. So if one goes to Brahma Jyoti and merges into that for some time, but because of its very nature and the nature of the living entity, which is really Jivera Swarupa Krishneda Nityadas, to be an eternal servant of the Lord, and in Brahma Jyoti there is no such thing as servitorship. So he falls down because his situation is empty. So therefore, what you said is, what I was trying to bring out is true and not true. It's not true in the sense that when you see Supersoul, you are seeing God, and that is a stage. But if you don't take it to the real, to the right, to the proper Bhagavan stage, then it is totally useless. If you take it to the other stage of Brahma Jyoti, that is its uselessness, because it goes nowhere, takes you nowhere, and you end up back in the material world.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that comment. Anybody else have anything they'd like to? Yeah, go ahead.
You know, can you say like that then, before you come to the stage of bhava or prema stage, basically you are always in different level of illusion and maya influence? It's like that?
Yeah, I think so. It's not black and white.
It's not black and white, but still.
No, it's not black and white. It's shades of gray. You know, we're gradually coming out of illusion. As we advance in devotional service, we're proportionately coming out of illusion into reality, into enlightenment. Yeah, anybody else? Any comments or question? Okay, thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.